up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Disney College Program Podcast. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Holly, and we are your hosts.
All right, listen, whatever you usually take notes on, if that's a journal, if it's your phone, whatever you've got, bring it out. You're definitely going to need it.
That's right. We are going to be dropping wisdom today. We're dropping life advice today. And that is because we have Baylee on today's episode. She works in entertainment. This is her second program, and she's got a lot to share.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not ready for what she has for you today.
No, you're not.
So
straight up, you're not.
Let's go.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you.
I am so excited to be here.
Okay, so we always start at the very beginning. Tell us how you heard of the Disney College Program. Walk us through your Disney journey.
Okay. So I had heard about it actually. This is so strange. I was going ziplining in Mammoth Cave with my family, and our zipline instructor had worked at Disney. And she was like, you would be so great to work there. And so in the back of my mind, from like the age of like 10 or so, I was like, oh, maybe I could work at like Disney or something. That would be really cool. And it wasn't until I was like a junior in college that I was on this date with this guy, and he was very accomplished and had done all this stuff, right? And I was like, that's so cool. Like, what's something that you've wanted to do that you've never done before? And he's like, well, I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. And I was like, I hate you. Yeah, boo. Boo.
I mean, shout out to that guy, I guess.
Shout out to that guy. Boo. But yeah, no, I was like, okay, that's ridiculous. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to do the Disney College Program. And he's like, well, why don't you just sign up? But I was, he's like, we're signing you up. So I signed up, and now we're on this podcast.
So in a way, actually, shout out to this
Shout out to this guy and to that instructor who took me through that cave.
Yes.
So okay, going back again. So you submit this application, and this has been a dream of yours. You've been waiting. What was it like to actually get the note that says, hey, you're going to do this?
Oh my gosh. Well, right after I decided to sign up, I realized I was terrified, because if I had gotten a yes, I would be going by myself, and I'm a small town girl. So I had walked into my roommate in college's room, and I said, we're signing you up for this. And she said, okay. So we signed her up, and she heard back a yes before I did. And I was like, like, maybe I'm not going, and now I've lost my best friend. Like, what am I going to do? So when I found out, we were just like elated. We were like jumping up and down, and we started like planning what was going to be like this whirlwind of our life. And I had dreams that in a perfect world, I was going to sell shirts in a shop on Main Street. It's like, that would be the best ever.
But you don't sell shirts in a shop on Main Street. What do you do?
I work in entertainment, so I get to help guests experience the magic of film that they see from their childhood in real life here in our parks.
Mm-hmm. Talk about what it's like to see their reactions and just kind of be around all of them experiencing that magic for the first time.
It's incredible, because I think we all know when people plan their trip to Disney, we don't know if it's their first or their last trip, or if they're celebrating a special occasion. So every interaction means so much to every family. And while it might be, we get to live here every day, this is their magical moment that they've dreamed of ever since they were a little child. So to be able to see that and experience that with them and share that moment with them, there's nothing like it in the whole wide world.
So, okay, so you applied for the college program. You did not know, or you weren't even planning to work in entertainment. So how did you get from point A to point B? Like, how did you get to entertainment?
Right. So they send out this email, and they're like, hey, we're accepting character performer auditions. And this was 2 years ago. This is my second program. And when they sent those out, I was like, oh, that's so cool. I didn't even know they did that. I probably wouldn't get it, but I will regret not trying. I will throw my hat in there.
So, okay, staying there for a minute.
Yes.
Because being in that process sometimes can be super scary, super terrifying. But like, how did you overcome that fright and be like, no, I have to make this happen?
Because I knew, like, the only thing I was going to regret was the things that I didn't do. All the things that I did do, I would be able to laugh about later. Like, oh, yeah, I did that. That was so silly of me. But hey, I did it. Versus down the line thinking, I could have done that. I wonder what would have happened. I I'm really glad that I did, because if I hadn't, I really think my life would be completely different than what it is today. Post Disney, coming back, like this opportunity has completely shaped the person that I am.
And were you auditioning for an entertainment role for your first program as well as, and then you came back for your second?
Yes. So when they put that out there on the line, I was like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and audition and see what happens, not knowing what would happen. And when I came back, I was not the same girl that I was whenever I threw my hat in that ring, because I had done it before and I wasn't afraid to dream anymore. Like I had the confirmation that, you know, dreams really do come true if you just put yourself out there. And because that experience had happened to me, I'm just not afraid to throw my hat in crazy places anymore. It's really a relief to have that support and to be able to do that.
Have you found like a lot of other participants here who have had similar experiences and are like, hey, I had to overcome that, and I kind of see myself in your story as well?
Absolutely. And there are people who audition and audition and audition, and it's their third audition, it's their fourth audition, it's their sixth audition, and then they get their call. And that is so special to think about, because it can be really heartbreaking to put yourself out there. It's very vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable experience to say, I could be told no on a dream like this. I think that's what kept me from auditioning for so long. I was so fragile, and I didn't want anyone to tell me no. But what I didn't realize was someone was already telling me no. I was telling me no. Ooh. And that was not fair. I want to be the last person to tell me no. If somebody else is going to tell me no, let them tell me no. I'm never going to tell myself no.
Yeah.
So
other people will do that for you.
Yes.
You do not need to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's such, like, I love that you said that though, because I feel like you hear that a lot in the entertainment space of like, you're going to be told no a lot of times. Like, you should never be the person telling yourself no. Like, don't hold yourself back. But I feel like that's so applicable to anything. Like, how do you feel like that motivated you to join the college program in the first place?
You know, I was just a very different person when I applied then. I applied much weaker, you know, when I sent that application, and it was that I didn't really believe. It was just that I knew I was afraid of regret. It wasn't that I was embracing new beginnings. It was that I knew that if I stayed right here, if I do what I've always done, I'll get what I've always got. And what I've got isn't enough for me right now. And I need to take the leap. So I submitted it like with my eyes closed like this. And now I feel like I'm walking into entertainment a second time like this. And you know, maybe I grab and there's nothing there, but like, I'm not going to stop grabbing, you know, I'm not going to keep, just because I end up empty handed doesn't mean that I don't get to try again. So, and 9 times out of 10, when I apply myself, I feel like I get a good response. And on the times that I don't, I feel like it's just like a reframe and try again. And what didn't work, what will work next time.
Yeah. So obviously you had this passion and this desire for this. When you came into it, were there any skills specifically that you're like, all right, I know I'm great at this, or I have a vibe for this, but I need to get better at these specific things?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I was not a musical theater major in college. I was a psychology major, and I did some theater at my small Quaker college. So I went to my theater like director person, and I was like, hey, like, it says I need a resume, and we start putting things down. I'm like, I don't even know what to put on a acting resume. Like, I don't act. And he's like, okay. He's like, do a British accent. And I'm like, all right, governor. He's like, that's a British accent. I'm like, perfect, put it on there. He's like, can you talk with a puppet? I was like, yeah, I can talk with a puppet. He said, we're putting puppeteering on there. Like, don't be afraid to like say, hey, I've done a puppet in a show before. I can articulate a puppet. I can do an accent. I can do a country accent. Just silly things, like put it on there. And other than that, those 3 skills, those are my skills.
Yes.
And I can tap dance. I can do a little shuffle ball change. Like, I was not some sort of like big wig, big brain, opera singer, musical theater, XYZ. I was just a person who showed up with a dream in blue leggings that day. And they said, I'm not even joking. When I walked in that room, they said, we liked your leggings in your audition. And I said, Thank you. I picked them out just for you.
They noticed. Wow, I'm obsessed that you just started putting down accents. I tried to do that once in an acting class, and they called me on it, and they were like, do a British accent. They put me on the spot. They're like, talk about your favorite food in a British accent, and I did. And he said, where's that from? And I said, the Isle of Britain. He said, not good enough. So I'm obsessed. I like your coach better.
Listen, no, here's the thing. When you show up, you gotta show up, show out. Like,
Yeah.
And I never said it was a good British accent.
You just said I can
said
do
that
it.
was on there.
Yeah.
For our listeners, they know there's a lot here. So for you with entertainment, where have you had a chance to be able to do your thing? You know,
Here's the thing. Entertainment is vast. That's what I think is cool about this area of operation. You really get to see and experience all of the parks and all of these different venues and areas. And your family becomes so much bigger than what you would have ever imagined. And whenever you run into someone there, you're like, last time I saw you, we were in Epcot. It's good to see you again. So being able to have like that vastness, really neat.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about kind of like the found family aspect of this, just being able to be with those people again who you had known from your first program. What is it like to make those connections?
Right. Actually, you know, it was kind of funny when I left here, because I talked about coming in a little bit more timid, not sure of myself, not super confident. Something that I used to do was I would bark.
What?
Yes, I would bark for confidence. Like, if you've ever watched like The King and I, she talks about like whistling.
Yes.
Like, whenever I feel afraid, like I hold my head and I whistle a happy tune so no one knows that I'm afraid. And like, if I can convince it, make believe you're brave and the trick will take you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are the lyrics. And I was like, that's really good, but I can't whistle. Like, what am I gonna do? So I started like barking. Like, when I get scared, I'd be like, bark. And I would bark when I got scared. So I would, under my breath, do like a little bark. And people would be like, what was that? Like,
Who let a dog in here?
And so people would be like, what, did you just bark? I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, okay.
So you were doing this in front of other people.
Other people.
Oh, yes, you were.
Because
Yes, ma'am.
I was doing it to be brave. I was
Yes.
to cultivate courage, because like if you can bark in public, you can do anything. It was what I would tell myself. So I'd bark, and it became like a thing. Like people would see me, they'd go bark. They'd be like, bark. Oh, Barking Baylee. Oh, have you met Barking Baylee? Barking Baylee. Like it was like it was my call sign. Like everyone just knew who I was. They'd be like, oh, you're that girl who barks. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And so people would be like, hey, Baylee, bark, bark, bark. And I'd be like, bark. The day I came back, right? The day I come back, I go to where I used to spend a lot of time to visit friends who are there. And I walk up and I call for a captain. And one of my friends has already told them, like, I'm on my way. I'm there. And they walk out and they're like, bark, 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 bark. And I'm like, it's been 2 years. I forgot I did that. Like, I'm like taken aback. I'm like, I really used to bark at him. Like, and just to have people remember something about you and to like celebrate you and you coming home in that way that's so like specific to you, not just like a welcome back, but like a thing they remembered about you. I mean, it really did feel like coming home for the first time. It was everything that I remembered it being.
Home is where people bark at you.
Yes, home is where people bark at you. And I mean, it was just really so incredibly special. And I don't know if I've shared this. I wanted to share this. What made me feel like I wanted to come back was never, yes, we make tons of magic for guests. And like the magic that I got to experience in my job, unfathomable, like untouched. I mean, crazy. Every little girl's dream, I fear. Like I was afraid when I left, like nothing will ever be as special as the time that I had at Disney doing what I did. But I was sitting at a rodeo at the Louisiana State Fair. And I was sitting there watching the riders ride the bulls, sitting there by myself. And I was thinking, this is great, but I don't have anyone to share my life with. Like, I go to sleep in a random hotel in a random city alone. I wake up and I do my day alone. And I'll work with a different crew tomorrow. And I'll be on a different plane tomorrow in a different city. What life is this without someone to share this with? And I thought about where I would want to be if I could be anywhere in the world. And I thought about my break space with my friends, wearing the same outfit every day, doing the same job every day with the same people. And how back then it felt like, oh, I wish I could be doing something like more, or like, you know, to see the world or see something different. And after I had all that, all I wanted was to be in that break room with my friends. That was my family. I missed home. The feeling was home. Like I wanted to be home. And it was weird that it wasn't my mom or my dad or my brother or my college. I want to be home where the magic feels like home. So that was what made me look up in the first place what the next audition was, when it was. And it was in Atlanta, and it was on my day off, and I was going.
It was perfect. It was meant to be.
So I feel like a lot of our guests and even ourselves, like we understand that being a part of this company is the connections that you make, it means more than anything. Even, yes, you get the valuable experience and the work experience, but these connections are really important. So do you feel like that's one of the biggest things that you can kind of take with you from this program experience?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That, and before I came here, I genuinely had like no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Like I studied psychology because I loved people. I just love people, and I love their experience and their lives and getting to know them and understand them and the way their brains work. And whenever I was here, I got to do that through a really unique lens, like people who are on vacation and the mentality of being on vacation and being under stress and thinking, oh, there's so many things that I want to do in a day for my family. And on the flip side of that, being a cast member and showing up to work and wanting to do your best job, but needing the tools to do it. And I recognized that specific need, needing the tools to be the best person that you could be at your workplace. And these were the people that I loved and I cared about with like every fiber of my being. So I sought out opportunities to do that, to equip individuals with the tools necessary to provide that magic, because it's not an empty toolbox. It's a hefty one. And it's one that you're called to show up with every day to do your best work. So I joined the safety and wellness team as a part of Disney, and I started asking questions, not just about the safety aspects of fire extinguishers, but how we're equipping our cast with the tools to do that. And I started including, you know, wellness initiatives into break spaces to care for the people that I had grown so close to. And I realized, I don't know if this is a job, but my heart is here, like making sure that people have what they need to do what they love to do. And to do that with the safety and wellness team kind of opened the door for me to start thinking about, what is this job and what's the name? And whenever I went back to school, I started asking those questions. And I found that I wanted to do industrial psychology or HR work. And I'm still feeling that out. I'm taking the GRE while I'm here, trying to get my score up so that I can apply to a master's program, hopefully soon, to explore that and maybe someday do that for the company that I feel so in tune with and so happy to be here. And homie is the right word. I've said it 1,000 times, but I'll say it again.
Yeah. I love that, you know, through this program and through your experience at Disney, you were kind of able to figure out a little bit more what you wanted to do with your life. I feel like we hear this a lot. People saying, you know, I came to the college program and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, which is like so normal because you're in your 20s. Nobody knows what they're doing in their 20s. Nobody. And so I love that you were able to have an experience that kind of gave you a little bit more direction. That's really cool.
Absolutely. And at the same time, while it gave me direction when I left my first program, what it gave me also was like the confidence to know that it was okay to not have everything figured out all of the time. And that I was in my 20s and I was allowed to go to Disney and have this crazy off chance opportunity. And it didn't have to be my last crazy adventure. Like I was allowed to have an adventure. My life was allowed to be exciting, and it didn't have to be ABC 1, 2, 3. When I left Disney, I was so sad, but also a different person than when I came. Now, when I got home, I lived out of my car for 2 months traveling the United States as a nomad. Like went to Canada, went to all of the different states, and then went to the largest ventriloquism convention in the world, bought a puppet, became a ventriloquist.
Whoa.
Yes, her name is Rita, and we sing different songs for our kids. and it's really fun. Whoa. And so I did that. And then also, you know that cave I was telling you about that instructor?
Yeah.
I went back to that cave and I did not zip line. Nay. I crawled for 6 hours through tiny holes in the cave, through the longest cave in the world.
Oh my gosh.
And I did all these things because I had like the confidence of, you know, I'm not going to skip out on life. Like, I'm not going to like let life pass me by. I'm not going to tell myself no anymore to life and things. So I became a flight attendant. I became a state title holder for a pageant, placed top 10 in the nation. And after placing top 10 in the nation, 2 days after, I moved into Disney.
Wow.
So I just started saying yes to things because my college program told me it was time to stop saying no. Yeah. And I started living my life. And I'm so grateful to Disney.
Oh my gosh. Was there like, do you feel like this developed over time, like this confidence, or was there a moment you can remember where you're like, no, like I am going to live my life. I'm going to have adventures.
I remember I left, and what it was I'd been living in Fantasyland, literally, for so long. I'd been living in that Fantasyland, and I told myself, I was like, I am not ready for the magic to be over, but I am ready to live in the real world and to be the magic. Like, I can't rely on Disney to give me magic for the rest of my life. I'm going to create magic everywhere I go. Like, how do I keep magic as a part of my life? Like, I'm not relinquishing it. So I just started saying yes to crazy things. Like, I'd have an idea. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, that's wild. Like, I was at that ventriloquism convention and people were coming up to me, talking to me with their puppets, expecting me to talk to their puppet. I was like, these people are nuts. I have to be a part of this. I have to buy a puppet right now. And that's what I did. And it was really just when I left here, knowing that it didn't have to be over until I said it was over. I was in control. And if I wanted to come back for a second program, I could. But the reason was not because I needed the magic. Like, I had the magic. I was sitting at a rodeo in Louisiana by myself. That was magical. It was the family that brought me back. You can't be your own family. I think you need people to be there for you. At least I do. I can't be my own family. I need to be surrounded. And I had never felt so surrounded by love until I was here and I was barking with my coworkers.
So we are 100% going back to this whole ventriloquism thing.
Yes, I'm just going to say, we've got to revisit that. We've got to do a deeper dive.
So we often talk about like thinking outside of the box, right? And doing different things that can help build your skill set. And you talk about like saying yes and trying all these different things. But what even got you to this path? Yeah. Like, what do you
How'd you hear about this thing?
So I'd always loved the Muppets growing up. My car's name is Kermie. He's sitting out in the parking lot. And I love them. But I was traveling the U.S. in my car, and I was doing that life in the car, and the way that I would find out where I wanted to go next is I'd go on Facebook events, and I'd just start scrolling. I'd be like, what's near me? I'd find some crazy stuff. Did you know the largest ventriloquism in the world is at the Kentucky airport?
What?
I didn't either until I showed up. And all these people are like talking to me with their like I was a little scared. I was like, what is happening? What is happening? And I was there and it was just crazy. They're like talking about making puppets, building puppets. Like there are all these big wig ventriloquism people. And there's me. And they're like, are you a ventriloquist? And I'm like, no. They're like, well, what are you doing here? I said, that is a good question. What am I doing here? And this lady came up to me. She's like, you are so cute. And I was like, really? And she's like, yes. And I was like, thank you. She's like, so where's your puppet? I said, oh, I don't have a puppet. And she said, so what are you doing here? I was like, I'm just here for a good time. And she's like, do you want to learn ventriloquism? I said, sure. That sounds really fun. She's like, well, I would be willing to coach you. And she taught me just like a 90-second routine. And then in around 6 months, she taught me to do a different routine. So our routine right now is we did anything you can do, I can do better, which was really easy. But now we do the Grundy County auction, which is like, hey, pretty lady, won't you give me a sign? I'd give anything to make your mind on mine. He'd do your bidding and be at your beck and call. Never seen anyone looking so fine. Then I gotta have him. He's a one of a kind. He's going once, going twice. He's sold to the lady at the second row. She's at 8, she's 9, you're at 10. I know you got ruby red lips, red hair, blue eyes. I'm gonna did my heart goodbye. So little back and forth. I look so crazy right now.
Can we just clip that and just like upload it with no context whatsoever?
No context.
Please, video editor, I'm
And then you've
begging
got to cut
you
back
right
to like
now.
me and Josiah just like sitting there like,
just like I am begging you, do it.
Listen, everything makes sense. It culminates. So Disney right now has tons of puppeteer opportunities. I don't know if y'all know this. Little Mermaid has tons of puppets. Like there are puppets.
The Little Mermaid does?
The Little Mermaid show at Hollywood Studios.
Oh my gosh.
They've got tons of puppets. They're doing like tons of puppet workshop. If you're a puppeteer out there and you're watching this and you know how to talk with a puppet, Disney needs you. Disney needs you. They want you to come and audition. Come, bring your puppets. These are really hard, but you can do it. Like you need to be here. So I'm trying to get into puppetry now because I'm coming back with puppetry experience.
oh my gosh. I do want to go back to something you said earlier. You're talking about how, you're kind of doing like the same thing day in and day out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's exclusive to entertainment. I think that's
everyone.
And that's like any job ever. But like, for sure you're doing the same thing day in and day out on the program. How do you find like the magic in every day, or is it sometimes hard to find that?
People really think that this job is just like the end all be all cure all for, what is like workplace fatigue. Mm-hmm. We are called to be the most magical people on earth and to show up and, make this experience everything that these families have dreamed that it would be for so long. And that can cause fatigue for anybody. I don't care if you're like giving the drink at Starbucks or you're dancing in the parades and shows. It's a big ask. And, in order to keep that magic, you do have to be mindful of what fills your cup. And it's different for different people. Sometimes it's reading a book. A lot of my friends have started like book clubs and also having something to look forward to, having like a party for like Halloween that everyone's going to get dressed up for. And also not being afraid to like make the job a game. Like the job is allowed to be fun. Enjoying your job is something that I am really passionate about because it's like something that you spend your most of your life doing. Most of your life will be spent doing a job and working, that and sleeping. So you might as well enjoy both. You can't be afraid to make your job enjoyable and to love your job. And there are silly little things that you can do, like keeping mementos from guests, being grateful, writing down your experience in a journal, gratitude, and also writing thank you notes, like to your peers. There's also cast compliments that you can do. Like that keeps you so mindful of the opportunity that you've been given that's before you, that these people you don't get to spend forever with. Like even if you stay with the Walt Disney Company forever, like people move around. Like the people who were in my break spaces are in different places now. People are doing very different things. And this is a company that you can be wherever you want, and that's allowed to change as many times as you'd like. So don't take a moment for granted.
Yeah. I love that you have this perspective of these are the things that I'm passionate about and my skills and things that I love to do. And then these are like my hobbies, and that's separate from what I'm doing over here. Like,
you
so
can't
that
let
I can,
the job become your hobby.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Yeah.
You cannot do it. It's not fair. And what's crazy is people come into Disney and Disney is their hobby. And then it also becomes their job. And it becomes really hard to separate that, to say, this is my job and this is my hobby. And working here has not diminished the love that I have for Disney by any means. If anything, it's made me love it more. And there are things that are still my hobby. Like I love going into the parks with my friends on my day off. I love reading Disney books, et cetera, et cetera. But, you're allowed to have dreams that are not just your job. Like, yeah, I have dreams in my workplace, but like someday I'd love to perform with Rita. Rita's my puppet. Somewhere that is not like a pageant or a library or a national competition. I'd like to be on TV. We've already done a couple of news shows, but I wanna be on like a TV show episode with Rita. I just brought her. But I want people to know that yes, you're working a lot. In Disney, you're working in Disney and you love work. but there's room to do other things. Lots of people take dance classes for entertainment. They love doing like dance classes. They love reading. They love, lots of my friends, we go thrifting. But yeah, having your hobbies is really important here, and having a way to relax is really, really good.
So many things that you do, or that you've wanted to do, you're in it, right? You take that leap. What are some of the things that you're actually still looking forward to?
Ooh, taking this GRE is something that is really scary to me, and something I probably would have not done before I started working in this company, because I have a fear of rejection, which is hard when you're in entertainment, because you hear no. You do hear no. And that is very difficult. But I'll never know if I don't put my hat in. And I'm looking forward to taking that test as much as it kills me, because I am not a sit down, take a test kind of person. And the reason I'm excited to do that is because I am ready to open the next door and do what I love to do at a higher capacity. Like, as much as I love performing, I love people even more. And I think that's what makes me a great performer, is that I'm very genuine in my interactions with cast and with our guests. I live in a place of authenticity. So to be able to do that at another level would really change my life, and continue to fuel that spark that was sparked first here in entertainment, being able to hug our guests and love on our guests and perform and do all these wonderful things for our guests. And then to be able to do it for cast is the next step, and to be able to do that in small little ways. And then to be able to do that and to be in a position that becomes my primary job, and I can do it for longer and for greater extents and lengths would be really great.
How do you handle rejection when that happens? Because and we see this on the program too. Sometimes, like, you don't always get the role you want or the location you want, or whatever it might be. Like, how do you cope with that when you do get told no?
Let me tell you, I think until this year had not been told no a whole lot, because I was afraid to submit. If I put myself out there, I'll be told no. And so I didn't have to really experience rejection like that. I'd been rejecting myself. I didn't let anyone come close enough to give me that opportunity to be rejected. I was like, nay. So doing that now, rejection is a very new feeling to me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't like rejection. I don't like it. I'm a big reframer.
That's weird. Usually people do. No,
I'm just kidding. I'm a big reframer. I reframe everything. I'm like, oh no, it's not. It's a momentary setback. It's not forever. But honestly, sometimes no is no. And at the end of the day, you can be really, really sad about no, or you can do what you can with the time that you're given. You have to do what you can. And if that is not you, if you knock on that door and you hear no 5 times, in between your knocks, you might as well go get a Starbucks coffee. You might as well knock on this other door, see what's happening. You might as let yourself have other dreams. Your life doesn't end after you hear no. It's about what you do with that no. If you live your whole life waiting for someone to give you your yes, you're going to be waiting a long time. I might not get a yes for this thing, but I'm not going to wait for my yes to be happy or to go to have other dreams or to do other things. It's a heartbreaking thing, but some things will be no. But one thing that will be yes is joy. I will always have joy. Joy is mine. It's not something I'm going to wait for a no or a yes about.
Yeah, I feel like that just reminds me of the quote everyone always says is rejection is just redirection and stuff like that. But it's so true, and it is what you make of it. And there's always something that you can learn. So you don't get XYZ, but you gain something else, you learn something else from this new thing or this new door that you've been able to walk through.
Right, absolutely.
I do want to talk a little bit about your actual program itself. Was there anything coming into this program that maybe surprised you or you weren't prepared for?
So my roommate experience last time I was here was a little interesting. At first, like we had some conflicts as roommates, and we had some mediation, and it was just like not going super great. But then I ended up getting like 3 German roommate girls who were like fabulous. They were so good to my cat, and they brought me home tons of like leftover popcorn. And I was like, this is the best, like caramel popcorn. I love it here. And so like coming back in, I was like really wary of that. And I thought about what would create the best environment for success. I have an ESA. I have documented anxiety, which I'm very open about. And so my cat having a place to live is really, really important to me. So I previously had selected only other females for my home. And I thought about the psychology behind it. We have like Ocean, which is openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, and neuroticism as a way to kind of look at a personality. And I realized something that was really important to me as a roommate is someone who's very open and, you know, open to conversation, over like talking about what our issues would be and what we think about the living space and being able to come forward. And I thought about what environment better to have an open environment than people who are willing to live in a gender inclusive housing environment, because you don't know what you're getting with that. And you're saying, I'm open to it. I'm open to living with men, women, non-binary, trans individuals. And that is something that I'm completely okay with. And I knew in my heart that those roommates were going to be welcoming to myself and my cat. So I was really excited to move in. And now I live with one Italian, one Norwegian, and both of them are men. And then I have a female roommate named Greta, and it's been really wonderful. And before Greta, I had a roommate who was they, and she was wonderful too. Her name was Jay, and she loved the Muppets, and I loved the Muppets, and we got along great. And my mom was initially very concerned because I come from a small town, and she was like initially afraid of like me living with like other men because I'd never done that before. But I felt like so comfortable, and we stayed up talking till like 12:30 midnight, Eric, myself, and Greta, just about anything and everything, about Eric's life, being Norwegian in the United States, and just laughing and talking all night long. And I couldn't be more grateful actually for the opportunity to live with people who have led such different lives than myself and who are very different from me.
Yeah. I always love hearing people talk about just being able to share their different cultures here.
It's so cool.
And that's just like, it's amazing. Have you tried like any foods, snacks, different things from other places?
So Tommaso is always cooking. He's the Italian roommate. He's always cooking in the apartment. I've not tried any of his stuff, but what I think is really funny right now is watching my roommate, Eric, he's from Norway. He is trying all of this American stuff for the first time. And then he's also like trying to find out where he wants to go and like visit in the US while he's here on his trip. And one place he's like, I want to go to New York, but I don't know what time I want to go. I was like, you should go for the Thanksgiving Day parade. And he said, what's Thanksgiving?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, so there's going to be this huge turkey. It's going to fly down the streets. It's a big deal. And he's like, huh? And I'm like, there's like this floating turkey. And he's like, I guess I have to go see the floating turkey. So he's planning to go watch the parade as his first trip. He has like this list. He's like, I went to go to Elvis's house. I went to go to New York. I went to go to California. And he met my family. He ate with my family without me. They invited him out to eat without me and went out to eat with them. He's like, I went to go to Ohio for an Ohio State football game. Classic. I'm like, okay, like, how do you expect to get there? He said, your sister will take me. She said so. And I'm like, okay.
That's so funny. There's nothing like explaining just like classic like American things to like someone who didn't grow up in this country. Cause you're like, no, that is weird. Like, why do we have a giant turkey that floats down, what is it, Fifth Ave in New York?
Yeah.
What are we doing, bro?
No. And it's so funny. And people come here with very different like experiences of like Disney. You don't have to be a Disney expert to like work at Disney. Like the other day he was like talking to me about like one of the characters he saw, and he was trying to describe who it was, and he honestly had no idea who it was. It was Aurora. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, the pink one. And I was like,
Piglet.
yeah, I was like, I don't know.
My favorite princess.
Right. I'm like, I have no idea. So it's kind of fun to have people from like different walks of life versus like my other roommate. She's like gone to the parks like every day on her day off. She's like loving being at the parks. Eric's not been to any of the parks. He came back home from his first day at work and they had took him on the Figment ride. He said, I went on the purple dinosaur ride. And I was like,
Figment's a dragon, right?
Yeah, Figment is a dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just, he has no idea anything about Disney. And, it's fun watching people come from like different walks of life, like with different knowledge sets, because not everybody here is here because they love Disney.
When you were coming on your program, did you expect to get to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds?
Honestly, absolutely not. I was coming in just thinking about like the job itself and not anything about like culture or like background and how there are like tons and tons of people here. I remember my first indication that things might be a little bit different than my hometown was whenever I was driving down here, and all of a sudden half the radio stations were in Spanish, and I was like, where's the radio? Like, I don't understand any of this. I don't know what's happening. Like, and I was like, Florida's a little different than back home in Ohio. So my first kind of experience of being with people who were different than me, different than my hometown, was college. And like I said, I went to a small Quaker college. And while there was more diversity there, not at the level of like Germans and Norwegians and Italians and everything else in between, all these people from different countries, and just like, the LGBTQIA presence. Like there just wasn't a whole lot. There was some, but there wasn't a lot. And I was super grateful that my college had like opportunities like to be a part of like groups that were very inclusive and educational, that like taught me how to listen and to take a seat. And, I'm definitely not an expert by any means. I'm still learning a lot. But I think that my experience in college helped prepare me a little bit for Disney. And then Disney was like, all right, trial by fire, here we go. We're going to introduce you to everyone from everywhere all the time. They're going to be guests and you don't know what they're saying. Have fun. And honestly, it has been fun. Like, because just as much as, I am aware that people are different than me, those people are also aware that I'm different than them. And I've noticed more often than not, 90% of the human experience is shared. We are all so much more similar than we are different.
So, okay, going back to the beginning, if you think back to when you first applied, when you were first joining this program, what is one thing that you would tell yourself as advice?
I want to go back to just like do everything that you can with the time that you're given. No day is ever promised, and something could happen back home and you have to go home, or your program ends, or you plan to extend and you don't get an extension, or you plan to go full-time and you don't get full-time or part-time or whatever, or anything happens and you need to go home, or you don't get to do something, or you change roles. And you say goodbye to something, you don't get to do it anymore. Don't waste a second wishing you were somewhere else, wishing you were doing something else, being sleepy, being too tired to have fun, being too tired to do a good job. Because when you look back, all of the opportunities that you take will be what you remember, and all of the opportunities you didn't take won't be there, and you'll not have anything to look back on. And whether you come here and go and come back, come here and stay, there's so much to learn and do here, and it looks so different to everyone. And don't let anyone's story here tell you that it's got to be the way that they did it, because you listen to a different person. Different story, and your story is your own, and it's up to you, not anyone to give you permission to take full advantage of it. You have to seize your moment.
Yes.
You have to seize your moment.
Okay, well, Baylee, I feel like you've been giving us such incredible advice, and I love that you just talked about seizing your moment. That is actually a perfect segue into our next segment, which is a game called Seize Your Moment, where we just want to hear more about times where you were bold, you acted on your impulses. So we're just going to rapid fire give you some prompts, and you can just respond to us with a time where you seized your moment. You ready?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so the first one, another time that you said yes to something that you were afraid of.
So I went to an audition in Canada for Disney Cruise Line. I got told no, but I went, and while I was there, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I can't dance. Cruise line auditions are like super dancey. I can't dance. But I showed up anyway. I got cut the first round, and then I drove all the way home. And 80% of my time was spent driving. I just drove all the way there and all the way back. And maybe it wasn't thought out, but like, I think it was something that whenever I looked back, I think that was a tiny voice telling me that maybe I wanted to go home. And that's what I was trying to do. Because really when I did it, I was like, oh, this is so crazy. Let me just like say yes to something that's like crazy just to be fun. Let's see what will happen. And whenever I went and I didn't even make it through the first round, I got in my car and I got home and I drove home and I was sad. And I remember something inside of me was like, why am I sad? And then I was like, because I got told no. And I was like, that's not it. And it took a really long time to realize that why I was sad was because I did miss it. And I hadn't thought that I did at all. But it felt good to know that I had something that I loved enough to miss. And that gave me a lot of comfort. Like I had something really beautiful, and it feels good to have something worth missing.
So you did get something out of that. Even though you were told no, you got something out of that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And I think that it was the indication that I had something good, because whenever I left, it was almost so painful. Not like painful as in like a terrible, terrible thing, but like it was hard to think about because I had left something so good behind, and I had done my best to distract myself with all my new fun things that I was doing. But when I did that, I think it was the indication that this was a good thing that you had, and you're allowed to miss it.
Yeah.
You're allowed to look back and be a little sad and a little glad and everything in between.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. A moment you felt like you were part of a family here.
Okay. Probably my first program when people started barking back at me. That was kind of crazy. I mean, I had always barked, and I had I had done that for like a little period of time back home at my college campus, but nobody ever barked back. They'd just be like, what is she doing? Like, that is so weird. Like, what are you doing? And, it didn't bother me or faze me. But like to get here and then like within like a month of like barking places, like having people be like, bark, 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 like, bark. And I'd be like, what is happening? Like, I've like met my people. What is going on? And like, I remember my mom came to visit me at my workplace, and my leader went to go get her to bring her to where I was. And my leader showed up and she was like, bark, bark, bark. And my mom's like, what? And she's like, oh, Baylee, she barks. And she's like, yeah, but like, why are you barking? She's like, we all bark when Baylee barks. Baylee barks. And my mom was like, you were just so loved here. And to like have that established, not only like what I knew, but like for my mom to recognize that, like that felt pretty special.
That's so cool. All right, now look, I don't know if this is I don't know how we can beat becoming a ventriloquist, but let's see what we get here. An unexpected skill that you picked up.
Oh gosh. Well, ventriloquism definitely was my unexpected skill. Nobody really ever thought that I could do something like that. But I would also say I can live out of a suitcase. I can live with very little. Now, I look very high maintenance. People look at me, they're like, your hair's blonde. You have to go and get like your highlights done or whatever. Yes, I absolutely do, but I can get them done anywhere. Like I had like a nail tech in like every city when I was like flight attending. And I literally did live out of a suitcase and wear the same outfit every day. And when I was living in my car, like I was pretty scrappy. Like I could fix a tire. I could change like different things on my car. Like I'm pretty handy, and I'm really good at flying with absolutely nothing. Literally, whatever you give me, I will work with. And I think that has become like a huge strength of mine, because when you look at me, you don't think that I would be that way. I don't come across that way because I'm just kind of like silly, goofy. It almost comes across as like I'm not prepared, but like I don't need to be prepared. I'll pull with what I have. And I feel like I'm really good at just like whatever happens.
Wow, that is impressive. That is a skill. Okay, last one. What was a pinch me moment where you realized like, oh, I am here?
Okay, my first time whenever I was doing my fitting and they put me in costume, I was gooped. I thought, there's no way they actually let me do this. This is so crazy. They have made the biggest mistake ever. Like, they're never going to let me do this again. Like, there's no way that this will be my life. And I ran up and down the hallway laps because I was like, since they're never going to let me wear this again, I have to get my kicks in. So cool. So I was so excited and just like overjoyed. And I think that was my pinch me moment. Like, there's no way like that this can actually be happening to me. And when I got back to my room at Flamingo, I remember thinking, I never, ever, ever want this to end. I never want this feeling to end. So I went to sleep because I was afraid if I stayed awake that I would get the call or the email and it would all be over and I wouldn't get to do it anymore and it wouldn't be real. And I'd just go back to whatever it was. That was going to be magical and beautiful and amazing. But like, I wanted to live in this moment for as long as I could. So I went straight to sleep. And when I woke up and I looked at my email, because I checked in that I couldn't help it, I clicked it and it said that I was going to be a part of entertainment. I was so excited. I was so excited. And I just felt called in that moment to turn on a Disney movie to celebrate. And the first movie that came up when I went to go look at my Disney Plus was Cinderella. So I clicked Cinderella and it turned on. And the first time that we see Cinderella as a grown adult is she wakes up from a dream and she sings about how dreams come true. And it felt like I had lived a real Cinderella story and that all of my dreams, just like Cinderella, I woke up from my nap and they had come true. And it was the most magical day of my life. And in that moment, I took a few seconds and I called my mom and I was like, Mom, it's just like the movie said. And she was like, well, I was like, dreams come true.
Oh my gosh. I see you tearing up. Girl, I'm tearing up like hearing you tell
It was like
the
the most magical day ever. And I remember like thinking like nothing will ever compare to this moment ever for like the rest of my life. And then the next day happened. And then the next day happened.
Yeah.
And it was like every day was like living that day like all over again. Oh my gosh, I'm such a mess. But like it was the most beautiful, amazing day of my life.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that's the fun thing about life is you have those moments where you're like, it's never going to get better than this. And then it does.
And then it does.
And then it does. Like, and it keeps getting better. And sometimes it's rough, but you'll continue to have those moments, which is really cool.
It was really cool.
That's amazing.
Baylee, one of the pieces of advice that multiple people in my life have given me, but most recently a few years ago, is you collect all of these experiences and these skills and you become undeniable and you give people a reason to always look in your direction and to call on you for things. And when you're sitting around and you're like, I don't know what the next thing is, you're building on that next thing, even if you don't know. And I feel like everything that you have shared today echoes exactly that. So first of all, thank you for being here with us. But two, continue to do what you do and to be undeniable and to collect those little tools for your tool belt because you're on your way.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been so incredible. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity that anyone wanted to hear my story. So yeah, thank you for all you do. And I hope that we get to continue to encourage others to take charge of their narrative and seize their moment.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You have an incredible story. You have great advice. I'm feeling inspired. I'm excited to see where you go from here. And just thanks for sitting down with us today.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that is a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bark.